The galaxy was wide, cold, and full of powerful empires. Humanity was new to this great stage. Only 50 years ago, humans had first built faster-than-light ships and left their home star system. They had met traders, explorers, and a few friendly neighbors. Most alien species looked at humans with curiosity. Some smiled at their energy. Others laughed, calling them children playing with big tools. The truth was simple. Humanity was weak compared to most older races. They had no giant fleets. They had no ancient technology. They had only their courage, their minds, and their stubborn will to survive. On the edge of known space, a small human exploration fleet moved forward. Their mission was to map new systems, find resources, and prove that Earth could stand among the stars. The fleet had only 6 ships, 2 light warships, 3 explorers, and 1 supply vessel. Their commander was Captain Elias Grant, a man known for calm thinking and strong discipline. For weeks, they had moved through empty systems. The stars here were untouched, the planets barren. The crew had started to relax, thinking it was just another long survey mission. But then the sensors picked up something strange. At first, it looked like an energy trace. Old, fading. But soon it grew stronger. The computer marked it as artificial. It was not natural space radiation. Someone had left technology behind. "Captain," said Lieutenant Marin, the science officer, "this signal is not on any chart. It looks like an active beacon." Elias leaned forward. "Is it human?" "No, sir. It's alien, very old, but still working." Curiosity pulled at them. Humans love discovery, and Elias gave the order to follow the signal. The fleet changed course, engines burning blue light in the dark void. Hours later, they arrived in orbit around a dead world. Its surface was dry, broken, and covered with scars of war. And on the ground, near a shattered mountain, stood a structure. Tall, black, and silent, it reached toward the sky like a finger pointing to the stars. The beacon pulsed inside it, the crew whispered. Could this be the ruins of an ancient race? Could it be treasure, knowledge, or even danger? They sent drones down to study the structure. The drones scanned, recording data. But as soon as the machines touched the beacon, a sudden shockwave rippled out into space. It was like a call, a flare of light invisible to the eye but loud to sensors. Every ship in the fleet saw their screens light up with alarms. What happened? Elias demanded. We triggered something, Marin said, her voice tense. The beacon. It sent a signal into deep space. I don't know who it called. The answer came quickly. Hours later, their long-range scanners screamed with warnings. A massive ship was moving toward them. Bigger, stronger, and faster than anything they had seen before. Its design was sharp and dark, full of blades and spines. It carried weapons that shone like suns. The name appeared in the database, and every heart froze. Dravari Dominion. The Dravari were the most feared species in the galaxy. For thousands of years, they had ruled with iron claws. They crushed worlds, burned fleets, and enslaved entire races. They were hunters who saw other species as prey. Few ever fought them and lived. The story said the Dravari never forgave trespassers. And now humanity had stepped into their territory. The Dravari ship sent a message. The translation was cold and harsh. You have entered Dominion space. You have touched forbidden ground. You will surrender your ships and lives. Resistance means death. The crew looked at their captain. Fear filled the room, but Elias's eyes burned with steel. Humanity had worked too hard, fought too many wars on Earth to kneel so easily. He spoke calmly. We will not surrender. The Dravari ship moved closer, weapons charging. The human fleet was outmatched. Their guns were small, their shields weak. But Elias was not ready to give up. Arm weapons, he ordered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We fight. The Dravari opened fire. Streams of energy tore through the void, striking the first human warship. The shield screamed, sparks flying across consoles. But instead of fleeing, the humans countered. They launched missiles, drones, and railgun fire. The Dravari shields absorbed most of it, laughing at the weak attack, but then Elias gave a strange order. Detach the supply vessel. Send it forward, empty. The crew obeyed. The supply ship, carrying no people, no cargo, drifted toward the Dravari vessel. To the enemy, it looked like a desperate attempt at distraction. They fired at it, blowing a hole in its hull, and then the ship exploded. The humans had turned the vessel into a giant trap, filling it with fuel and explosives. The blast tore through space like a small star. The Dravari ship's shields bent, cracked, and finally collapsed under the force. The human warships rushed in, pouring fire into the wound. For the first time in centuries, a Dravari warship fell silent and died. The crew stared at their screens in shock. They had done it. They had destroyed a ship of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But Elias did not smile. He knew what this meant. They will come, he said softly. They will come with more ships, with fury, with vengeance. We didn't just survive today. We declared war. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Traitors, spies, and diplomats carried the story to every world. Aliens whispered in awe and fear. Humans have struck the Dravari. Some laughed, saying humanity would be erased within months. Others watched with quiet hope, wondering if maybe, just maybe, this new species from a small blue planet could do the impossible. Back on the human fleet, the crew prepared for what was coming. They repaired damage, stored weapons, and sent a message home to Earth. The words were simple but strong. We fought the Dravari. We survived. And we will not kneel. The stars above were endless, silent witnesses to the storm that was about to begin. Humanity had taken its first step into a war far larger than itself. A war that would test its courage, its unity, and its spirit. And though they were small and new to the galaxy, their fire had been lit. The most dangerous species had been challenged, and humanity would not back down. The stars were quiet, but the humans knew the silence would not last. After destroying a Dravari warship, Captain Elias Grant and his small fleet moved carefully through space. Every sensor was active, every eye alert. They all understood the truth. The Dravari Dominion would not forgive. On the command deck of the flagship Resolute, the crew worked with tense focus. Sparks still marked the walls from the last battle. Some stations were held together with emergency repairs, yet morale was strong. They had faced the most feared hunters in the galaxy and lived. Lieutenant Marin spoke softly, but her words carried weight. Captain, if the Dravari send more ships, we cannot win with force. They are too many, too strong, Elias nodded. That is why we will not fight with strength alone. We will fight with our minds. The fleet sent a coded message back to Earth warning the United Human Council of the danger. They did not know if the message would reach in time, or if Earth would even believe it. For many, the Dravari were only a legend, a nightmare told by alien merchants. But soon the legend would arrive in full force. The first shadow it did not take long. Only 4 days later, long-range sensors screamed again. 3 Dravari warships entered the system, cutting off the human fleet's path. These ships were not scouts like before. They were heavy cruisers built for war, each one carrying more firepower than the entire human fleet combined. The humans had 2 choices: flee and hope to escape, or stand and be destroyed. Elias chose a third path. Signal all ships, he said calmly. Prepare ambush positions. The humans moved into an asteroid belt nearby. Massive rocks floated silently, shadows in the dark. The fleet split apart, hiding between the stones. Engines went quiet, weapons powered down. To an outside eye, they seemed gone. The Dravari cruisers entered the system. Their sharp hulls cut through the void like blades. They moved in perfect formation, searching for the prey they thought weak. Their scanners swept the asteroids, but the humans remained hidden. Inside Resolute, the crew waited. Sweat touched brows, breaths came slow. Any mistake, any signal would give them away. At last, the Dravari passed deeper into the belt. Their arrogance blinded them. They did not expect prey to hunt the hunter, Elias whispered. Now, fire in the rocks, the human fleet came alive. Engines roared, weapons blazed. Missiles and railgun rounds flew out of the shadows. One cruiser took a direct hit to its engines, flames bursting across its back. The Dravari were shocked. They turned, returning fire, blasts tearing asteroids apart. But the humans had planned carefully. They used the asteroids as shields, weaving between them, striking fast, then vanishing. The Dravari ships were larger, slower to turn. Their weapons made for open battles, not tight fields of rock. Target their sensors, Elias ordered. Blind them. Missiles slammed into the cruiser's scanning arrays. Screens went dark. The hunters stumbled, striking at shadows. Meanwhile, the humans moved like ghosts, hitting weak spots, retreating before the counterattack. One Dravari cruiser exploded, broken apart by a chain of railgun strikes. The second, damaged and burning, retreated from the belt. The third, enraged, pressed forward, chasing Resolute. Inside the flagship, alarms screamed. Shields were failing, armor cracking. But Elias stayed calm. Keep it on us, he said. Draw it in. The Dravari cruiser closed the distance, pouring fire into the human ship. The crew struggled to hold. And then at the right moment, Elias gave the order. Detach mines. Dozens of small charges hidden on asteroids activated at once. The cruiser sailed straight into the trap. Explosions ripped across its hull. Fire spread through its body. The mighty ship broke apart, pieces drifting into the void. Silence returned. The crew of Resolute stared at their screens. They had done it again. Against impossible odds, they had destroyed not one but two Dravari warships and forced the third to retreat. Whispers across the stars word of the battle spread faster than light. Traders carried the tale to nearby systems. In alien marketplaces, creatures of every kind whispered in disbelief. The humans struck again. They killed Dravari cruisers. Some laughed, calling it luck. Others shook their heads, warning that luck would not save humanity forever. Yet a few, especially among oppressed species, felt something new. Hope. If humans could fight the Dravari and win, maybe the empire of fear could be broken. In the Dravari capital, the news caused outrage. The High Command gathered, their voices filled with fury. Never before had a young, weak species dared resist them. Never before had prey drawn blood. Crush them, one warlord snarled. Burn their world. Show the galaxy what happens when prey bites the hunter. The Dravari prepared a larger fleet. Humanity had not just angered them. Humanity had humiliated them. And humiliation demanded vengeance. The captain's burden on Resolute, Captain Elias, knew the truth. They had won small battles, but the real war was only beginning. The Dravari would send more, many more, and Earth was not ready. He gathered his officers. Listen carefully. We cannot match them ship for ship. If we fight their way, we lose. Our strength is different. We are fast. We are clever. We think outside the rules. That is how we survive, Marin nodded. Then we make every battle unfair. Yes, Elias said. We turn every weakness into a weapon. We make them chase shadows, bleed slowly. If we fall fighting. But if we stand, the galaxy will see that even the Dravari can be hurt. The crew agreed. Fear was still there, heavy in their hearts. But beside it burned pride. They were not running. They were not kneeling. They would fight. A message to Earth. The fleet repaired in the asteroid belt. Drones welded armor plates, engines were recharged, and damaged systems restored. Meanwhile, Elias recorded another message for Earth. This is Captain Elias Grant of the Resolute. We have engaged the Dravari again. Losses are heavy, but we have survived. The enemy is stronger than we imagined, but not invincible. We request immediate reinforcements, research, and preparation. The Dravari are coming. Not in scouts or cruisers, but in full force. If Earth is not ready, our world will burn. The message was sent. Then silence returned. They did not know if help would come. The stars watched that night, if night could exist in the endless dark. Elias stood by the viewing window. He saw the stars, millions of them, each a possible world, each a possible story. Somewhere, Dravari fleets were preparing to strike. Somewhere, alien empires were watching, waiting to see if humans would rise or fall. Behind him, Marin spoke softly. Do you think we can win, Captain? Elias did not answer right away. He thought of Earth, of oceans and forests, of families waiting for their explorers to return. He thought of history, of how humans had always been underestimated, always called weak by those who stood above them. Finally, he said, we do not need to be the strongest. We only need to be the ones who never stop fighting. And with that, he turned back to the stars. The Dravari had begun their counterstrike, but humanity's defiance burned brighter than ever. The war had only just begun. The galaxy was changing. For centuries, the Dravari Dominion had been untouchable. Their fleets crushed rebels. Their claws closed on trade routes. Entire planets had lived in silence, too afraid to resist. But now whispers spread from star to star. Humans fought them. Humans destroyed their cruisers. Maybe the Dravari are not gods of war after all. The story gave courage to many, but it also painted a target on humanity. The Dravari had been challenged, and they could not allow the galaxy to think their rule could be broken. A storm was coming. The gathering clouds on board the flagship Resolute, Captain Elias Grant studied a holographic map of space. Red lines marked Dravari patrol routes. Blue dots showed human colonies. Between them stretched empty darkness. The fleet had grown since their first battles. A few old freighters had been armed with weapons. Civilian ships, hearing the call of defiance, had joined them. They were still small compared to the Dominion, but numbers were no longer zero. Lieutenant Marin stood beside him. The Dravari are moving. Scouts say they've gathered fleets near the wormhole routes. They're preparing to strike at our colonies. Elias nodded. His face was calm, but inside he felt the weight of every life. Humanity's survival now depended on every choice he made. If they come with numbers, he said, we cannot meet them head-on. We fight a war of minds, not muscles. Marin smiled faintly. That is our way. The test of strength, it did not take long for the Dravari to act. A human mining colony on the edge of space became their first target. The Dominion sent 5 warships, enough to erase the colony in minutes, but Elias had planned ahead. The miners had evacuated quietly, leaving behind empty tunnels and machines. When the Dravari ships landed, they found nothing but silence. Then the traps triggered. Hidden charges collapsed the tunnels, throwing fire and rock into the sky. Automated drones launched missiles from caves. Railgun turrets disguised as mining equipment opened fire. The Dravari fleet was caught in chaos. From the shadows, the human fleet arrived. Small ships darted like insects, striking the weak points, then vanishing. The Dravari destroyed many drones and turrets, but the humans kept pressing. In the end, 2 Dravari warships were destroyed, another crippled. The rest retreated in fury. The mining colony was gone, but the message was clear. The humans would not give easy victories. The galaxy watches. The battle story spread like wildfire. Neutral species across the stars leaned closer, watching with new interest. On a trade station near the borders, alien merchants whispered, humans fight with tricks. They do not play by rules. They are dangerous because they refuse to give up. Some species, long crushed under Dravari rule, began to send quiet aid. Spare weapons, food shipments, and old ships started arriving in human hands. Small gestures, but signs of growing support. For the first time in centuries, the Dravari's power was not absolute. Inside the enemy, but the Dravari were not blind. In their high command chamber, warlords studied the reports. Their voices were sharp with anger. This new species must be broken. They are weak, but their tricks make them dangerous. If others follow them, rebellion will spread. The Dravari did not fear humans alone. They feared what humans represented, resistance. If one small world could fight, others might rise too. That could not be allowed. So the High Command gave a new order. Destroy not only the fleets, but also the spirit of humanity. Make their people lose hope. The trap weeks later, human scouts reported that a Dravari convoy was moving through a narrow star system. The convoy carried supplies, fuel, and weapons. If destroyed, it would weaken the Dominion fleet nearby. Elias decided to act. The humans set a trap inside an asteroid canyon. Ships hid behind rocks, mines floated quietly in the dark. The plan was simple. Hit the convoy fast, then escape before reinforcements arrived. The convoy entered the system. At first, everything went perfectly. Human ships rushed out, striking hard. Explosions tore across the convoy. 2 cargo vessels were destroyed at once. But then the truth was revealed. It was not a convoy at all. It was bait. Dravari warships uncloaked behind the humans. Dozens of them. The canyon became a cage. Ambush, shouted Marin. The humans fought fiercely, but they were outnumbered. Enemy fire ripped through hulls. One human freighter exploded, another crippled. The Resolute shook as blasts hit its shields. Elias gritted his teeth. They want to break us here, but we will not fall so easily. Turning the cage, the Dravari closed in, certain of victory. But they underestimated human desperation. Divert all power to engines, Elias ordered. Ram the canyon wall. The crew stared in shock, but obeyed. The Resolute smashed into the rock face, triggering charges planted earlier as a safety. The canyon wall collapsed, sending massive asteroids crashing down. The Dravari fleet was caught in chaos. Ships collided, shields shattered. Humans darted through the confusion, firing and escaping. When the dust cleared, the Dravari had lost 5 ships. Many more damaged. The humans escaped with heavy losses, but not destruction. The cost in the medical bay of Resolute, wounded crew lay on stretchers. The smell of burned circuits filled the air. Elias walked among them, speaking softly, offering comfort. Every victory came with a price. Every life lost cut deep. He carried the weight, knowing the war was only getting harder. Marin joined him, her face pale. How long can we keep this up? We win battles, but we bleed each time. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. We fight not to win quickly. We fight to endure. If we hold, others will rise. That is our strength. A spark of rebellion, and indeed sparks were rising. Reports came from across the galaxy. A small colony of the Kreen people refused Dravari orders for the first time. A merchant guild denied tribute payments. Rebel symbols appeared on walls of Dravari-controlled stations. The humans had lit a fire they could not control. For the Dominion, this was dangerous. For humanity, it was hope. The War of Wills. The conflict was no longer about fleets and weapons alone. It became a test of spirit. The Dravari wanted to crush humanity's will, to show the galaxy that resistance meant death. The humans wanted to prove that no empire, no matter how strong, could control the spirit of free people. Every battle became a message. Every small victory carried a story. Every loss carried sorrow, but also determination. In the quiet of his quarters, Elias wrote in his log, "We are outnumbered. We are outgunned, but we will not surrender. This is no longer just about Earth. This is about the galaxy. The Dravari rule by fear, and fear ends when someone dares to stand. We are that someone." The war of ships had begun, but deeper than that, a war of wills had started. And in that war, humanity was stronger than anyone imagined. Part 4, the turning point. The galaxy was tense. Every corner of space held whispers of humans and their defiance. They were still few in numbers, but their victories had become symbols of hope. The Dravari Dominion, proud and powerful, could not ignore them. Humanity had lit a spark, and sparks in darkness could become fires. On board the flagship Resolute, Captain Elias Grant reviewed intelligence reports. The enemy was massing fleets near the wormhole network that connected key systems. If the Dravari captured these points, Earth and all human colonies could be cut off, isolated, and destroyed. "This is the moment," Elias said to his officers. "The Dravari think they can crush us by force, but they do not understand human strategy. They do not understand our strength." Lieutenant Marin leaned over a map. "They are setting a trap. It's huge. If we engage, they will crush us completely." Elias nodded. "Then we don't fight like they expect. We fight differently. Unlikely allies, the humans were not alone. Over the past weeks, news of their defiance had reached oppressed species across the galaxy. Quietly, they had begun sending aid. Small fleets, weapons, and supplies reached human hands without the Dravari noticing. From the hidden system of the Vrikari, a small group of starships appeared. The Vrikari were peaceful traders but skilled engineers. They brought repair drones, energy weapons, and data on Dravari fleet movements. From the far-off colonies of the Tylari, volunteers offered intelligence networks. Every race that had once been silent under Dravari control now had reason to hope. Humanity had become a beacon, and the galaxy responded. Elias smiled faintly. "They are joining not because we are strong, but because we are brave." Marin's eyes shone. "And they believe in us." The trap set, the Dravari fleet advanced, unaware that the humans had prepared a counter. The system they approached was a dense nebula, full of ion storms and debris fields. Perfect cover. Small human ships darted among the clouds, laying mines and decoy drones. Hidden turrets lined asteroid fields. Old freighters, retrofitted with energy cannons, waited in ambush. Every element was designed to confuse and trap the enemy. Elias addressed his fleet through comms. "Today we do not fight blindly. Every move is calculated. Every attack is designed to weaken them and save lives. Stay sharp, stay fast, and never give them what they expect." The crew braced themselves. For weeks they had fought, survived, and adapted. Now the real test of human ingenuity and courage would begin. The battle begins. The Dravari appeared, massive and confident. Their ships cut through the nebula like shadows. Sensors screamed with interference from the ion storms, giving the humans an advantage. Elias gave the order. "Attack on my mark. Focus on their engines first." The humans surged from the shadows. Missiles and railgun fire struck the Dravari ship's engines. The massive cruisers faltered, turning clumsily in the dense nebula. Mines hidden in the asteroids detonated, shredding hulls. The Dravari were stunned. Never had they been attacked so deliberately, so cleverly. Their numbers meant little in the chaos of the nebula. Small human fighters darted between larger ships, hitting weak points, then vanishing. One cruiser, carrying elite Dravari warriors, exploded in a cascade of fire, its destruction echoing through the nebula. Reverse engineering, one of the humans' greatest advantages, was captured Dravari technology. During earlier skirmishes, small boarding teams had taken enemy devices. Engineers had worked tirelessly to understand them, and now, humans deployed weapons modified from Dravari designs. Energy cannons fired with the accuracy of the enemy. Drones mirrored Dravari attack patterns, and hacking programs disabled enemy shields temporarily. The Dominion was fighting itself, caught between familiarity and unpredictability. Elias watched from the command deck. They know their own technology, but they cannot anticipate human creativity. Marin added, "It's turning the battle in our favor. Turning the tide." The humans' plan worked. The Dravari fleet began to falter. Ships collided with each other in the dense nebula. Shields broke and their communication networks became confused. But the victory was not without cost. Several human ships were destroyed. Brave crews had given their lives to protect the fleet and draw the enemy into traps. The medical bays were full, and the crew moved quickly to treat the wounded. Yet despite losses, morale soared. Humans realized that clever tactics, courage, and unity could allow them to face even the most feared species in the galaxy. The Dravari. Realize the Dravari. High Command, watching from afar, was in disbelief. Never before had their fleets been forced into chaos by so few ships. Every tactic they had relied on failed against humans. Every calculated move was met with cunning countermeasures. The humans, "They adapt faster than expected," said one warlord. "Their courage is unshakable. Their unity is remarkable." For the first time, the Dravari feared not just loss but humiliation. Their legend of invincibility had been challenged, and their arrogance began to crumble. Humanity's spirit unresolute, Elias addressed his crew. "Today we have done more than survive. We have shown that humans are not prey. We are not weak. We are clever, united, and unafraid. The galaxy is watching, and the fire we light today will inspire others to rise." The crew cheered, but Elias knew the battle was far from over. The Dravari would regroup. They would strike back with larger forces, more ships, and fiercer determination. Humanity's victory today was only the beginning. Yet hope burned brighter than fear. Humans had taken the fight to a species no one dared challenge, and they had survived. They had proven that courage, strategy, and willpower could overcome sheer strength. A moment of reflection later, Elias walked the corridors of his ship, visiting crew members, checking on repairs, and speaking quietly to those who had seen friends lost in battle. He understood the burden of leadership. Every decision carried the weight of lives and futures. Marin joined him near the viewing window. The nebula outside glowed faintly, scattered with wreckage from both fleets. "Do you think we can keep this up?" she asked. Elias looked at the stars. "We have to. Not just for us, but for everyone who has no one to fight for them. Humanity is more than ships and weapons. We are hope, and hope is stronger than fear." Marin nodded. "Then we continue." The galaxy response reports arrived from distant colonies and neutral empires. Some offered ships, some offered intelligence, and some simply sent messages of encouragement. Humanity's courage had begun to shift the balance of the galaxy. For the first time, the Dravari faced more than resistance. They faced a growing movement of allies, inspired by the bravery of humans. The seeds of rebellion were planted, and the galaxy was taking notice. Preparing for the final push, Elias called his officers to the command deck. "The Dravari are strong, but we are smarter. The next phase of this war will decide more than just battles. It will decide how the galaxy remembers humanity. We will fight not just with weapons, but with courage, strategy, and unity. Every move matters." Marin studied the map. "We are ready. Whatever they throw at us, we can handle it together." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Together we are unstoppable." And with that, the human fleet prepared for the battles to come. They had turned the tide once, but they knew the real test was ahead. The Dravari would not forget, and the galaxy would watch as humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. The turning point had arrived. Humanity had proven that even against the galaxy's most dangerous species, determination, strategy, and courage could rewrite the rules of war. The fire of defiance burned brighter than ever. The galaxy was watching. After months of conflict, humanity had proven that even a small, determined fleet could challenge the Dravari dominion. Every victory had sent ripples across star systems, inspiring hope and fear at the same time. Hope for the oppressed, fear for the powerful. But the final test had come. The Dravari had assembled their greatest fleet, 50 massive warships, each armed with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Their command cruisers were fully loaded with elite warriors, and the flagship, a black monolith of death, loomed over all. They had vowed to crush humanity once and for all, and humanity's fleet? Less than 10 ships battered from months of battles with crews exhausted and wounded. The humans knew the odds. They knew the stakes, and still, they refused to back down. The last stand Captain Elias Grant stood on the command deck of Resolute, overlooking the holographic map of the incoming Dravari fleet. Red markers glowed ominously. His crew waited silently, tense but ready. "Today," Elias said, his voice steady, "we do not fight for glory. We fight for survival. We fight for freedom. Every system that watches us today will see what it means to stand against the greatest predator in the galaxy. And survive." Lieutenant Marin added, "Our allies are ready, and our strategy is solid. We can do this," Elias nodded. "Then we show them what humanity is capable of." The battle begins. The Dravari fleet emerged from the warp gate, massive and confident. Energy beams lit the void, casting shadows on the human ships. The flagship Resolute and its companions darted forward, weaving through debris fields, drawing the enemy into a trap planned months ago. Elias had anticipated every move. The humans used the terrain of the system to their advantage. Asteroid fields, nebula clouds, and gravity wells slowed the massive Dravari ships while humans maneuvered freely. Mines, decoys, and automated turrets hit the enemy from unexpected angles. Missiles fired from hidden positions tore into the flanks of the Dravari cruisers. One by one, their shields weakened. Their formation faltered, yet the humans did not underestimate them. Every ship and every crew member acted with precision, following orders without hesitation. Courage under fire. Even as explosions rocked the human fleet, the crews remained focused. Engineers worked furiously to keep damaged ships operational. Pilots risked everything to strike at the enemy and escape before retaliation. Medical teams moved between stations, treating wounds while alarms blared. One human freighter, stripped of cargo and converted into a makeshift warship, rammed a Dravari destroyer. The collision sent fire across space, crippling the enemy vessel. It was a desperate act, but it worked. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and exhausted. But their courage gave them an edge the Dravari could not anticipate. They fought not just with weapons, but with hearts and minds, uniting the galaxy. During the battle, reports arrived from allied species. The Vrakari engineers deployed repair drones to assist human ships. Tyleri intelligence units disrupted Dravari communications. Small fleets from other oppressed worlds attacked Dravari supply lines in nearby systems, drawing attention and reducing pressure on humanity. Elias realized something remarkable. Humanity had become more than a fleet. They had become a symbol, a rallying point for all who had suffered under the Dravari dominion. The fight was no longer just theirs. It belonged to the galaxy. "Every life we save today strengthens our cause," Elias said. "We fight not only for ourselves, but for everyone who cannot." The turning point, in the heart of the system, the Dravari flagship moved to strike the Resolute. Its weapons powered up, ready to obliterate the human command ship. Elias acted swiftly. "Deploy the reverse-engineered weapons," he ordered. "Target their engine cores." Missiles, modified from captured Dravari designs, streaked through space. Energy beams followed, focused with deadly precision. The flagship's engines caught fire. It lurched uncontrollably, colliding with its own escort ships. Chaos erupted. The Dravari fleet, once confident, was now in disarray. Their formations shattered. The humans pressed the attack, striking decisively at weak points. Small ships darted between the massive vessels, hitting critical systems and retreating before the enemy could respond. For the first time, the Dravari were afraid. Victory at last. After hours of intense fighting, the battle tilted in humanity's favor. The Dravari flagship was destroyed, their cruisers crippled, and the remaining ships fled. Humanity had not only survived, but won decisively. Across the galaxy, news spread. Ships from neutral empires, long fearful of the Dravari, celebrated quietly. Subjugated worlds dared to send messages of congratulations. Humanity had shown that courage, unity, and clever strategy could triumph against even the most powerful enemy. Elias and his crew were exhausted, but they stood proud. They had faced the galaxy's most dangerous species, and survived. They had declared war and rewritten the rules of engagement, Humanity's legacy, in the aftermath, humanity did not conquer. They did not rule. Instead, they helped stabilize the systems affected by the war, assisted allies, and shared technology and knowledge. The galaxy saw them not as conquerors, but as leaders, innovators, and defenders of freedom. The Dravari retreated to their borders, licking their wounds and re-evaluating centuries of pride. The story of humanity's defiance would become legend, a warning to all who underestimated the small blue planet. On the bridge of Resolute, Elias looked at his crew. "We have won today," he said, "but more importantly, we have shown the galaxy who we are. Fear cannot rule us. Strength alone does not decide outcomes. Courage, unity, and willpower do." Marin smiled. "We fought the impossible and survived. We made history," Elias nodded, "and this is only the beginning. Humanity has many more stars to reach, many more battles to face, but now the galaxy will know. We will never be underestimated again." A bright future months after the battle, humanity's influence grew. Colonies flourished, trade routes opened, and alliances formed. Other species inspired by humans began resisting oppression wherever it existed. The Dravari no longer ruled through fear alone. Their legend of invincibility had been broken. Elias stood on Earth looking up at the stars. Humanity had faced the galaxy's most dangerous species, and had won. The blue planet no longer seemed small. It was the cradle of a species capable of extraordinary courage and vision. In every corner of space, the story was told. Humans fought the impossible. Humans survived. Humans declared war and changed the galaxy forever. The stars were endless, full of mystery, challenge, and adventure. Humanity had proven that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire strong enough to change the universe. And so, the war that began with fear ended with hope, unity, and the undeniable strength of human spirit. The galaxy would never forget it.